Economic miracles do exist, but only in the words of economic historians. So says one of Russia's top economists on your website. Vladimir Mau is an economics professor. He is also a board member of Gazprom and Sberbank in Russia. Very nice to have you with us. I got that right, didn't I? You do say that.
Correct.
Economic miracles, okay, they do exist, but only in the words of economic historians. It looks like, given the hemorrhaging of money from Russia, it looks like Russia's going to need an economic miracle pretty soon.
First of all, it's the truth, because as an economic historian, I know that at the starting point of any economic policy, nobody knows results. And very often, when the government does everything right, the results are wrong, and vice versa. When everybody said that government was completely wrong, the result is economic miracle.
Well, what is the government right or wrong now, do you think?
You mean Russian government?
Yeah.
Well, Russian government, as now, it's running quite difficult situation. On the one hand, again, from Western point of view, formally everything is quite good. It's enough, as I say, that for last more than 10 years, Russian budget is balanced, or run really very low budget deficit between 0.5% of GDP. Russian foreign debt is below 2%. Russian sovereign debt is about 11%. But the Russian growth it became quite low, and this is the fundamental problem. The key problem is how to stimulate economic growth and not destroy institutional environment.
And of course, at the same time, we've seen the central bank raise rates 2 times unexpectedly. This can't be helping. Foreign investment outflow estimated at 150 billion over 2014. Is that sustainable?
It's not. First of all, the policy of the central bank is quite right. In EU, it's very important for me that even in the situation of political pressure, it's not very easy to rise interest rate. Central bank has rising interest rate, and it is very important because it means that central bank is only going to pursue populistic policy. Don't forget that Russian current situation lives in a situation more similar to crisis of 1970s in the West, not now. Russia approaching problem of stagflation, not deflation. And in this situation, central bank has to have courage and wisdom to rise interest rate. It is important. Speaking about capital flight, again, don't forget that capital flight in Russian situation, it doesn't mean that that money crosses border. Capital flight means that Russians who are quite wise investors in the situation of devaluation of national currency, which actually happened between 15 and 20% within the last half a year, Russians put their money into quality, as economists say, into international currency, which again, it may be painful, but it's very reasonable.
But how much more of this can the Russian economy withstand?
It very much depends. If the government does pursue a populistic economic stance, which hopefully not, it's not terrible or dramatic situation. This reaction is natural. I wanted to stress.
What needs to happen for you to call this situation dramatic for the Russian economy?
A recession. And
which is quite likely if it continues like this?
It is possible, but I would be more concerned about artificial stimulation of economic growth. Actually, technically, it's very easy to accelerate growth, as it was in Gorbachev time in the middle of 1980s, again, like economic history. Just put all government savings into investment, you have economic growth for the next couple of years. Then could come disaster. The most important thing is to start improving institutions and not run for nominal numbers.
Okay. Republicans in the US are introducing legislation for more sanctions, specifically targeting certain companies. Sberbank, Gazprom are among those. You sit on the boards of these companies. How concerned are the executives at these companies about these sanctions?
I wouldn't say that it change the agenda of the company.
It doesn't change the agenda?
Of course, we are very much interested in how it will work. Moreover, we are not sure that it will good for general economic stability or in various countries. I'm not sure that sanctions will work. Again, as economic historian, I don't know many examples of the countries where sanctions played important role, particularly in this case.
So these companies, these big companies are not too worried about this, is that right?
They know too. Of course, they are worried, but they are not too worried. Of course, they will find way how to respond to it. And of course, these companies are to a large extent domestically oriented. The more they're domestically oriented, the better. Of course, it depends on type of sanctions. If SWIFT is switched off or something terrible Iranian type, of course it will be very negative for any company. But I'm not sure that it would play any positive role, at least in political life.
Okay, Vladimir Mau, many thanks for talking with Reuters today. Vladimir Mau, one of the top economists in Russia, on the board of Sberbank and Gazprom as well. That is it for now. Plenty ahead, live interviews today and tomorrow from the OECD Forum in Paris. I'm Axel Threlfall, this is Reuters.